هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم جميع لدينا محضرون فاليوم لا تظلم نفس شيئا ولا تجزون إلا ما كنتم تعملون إن أصحاب الجنة اليوم في شغل فاكهون هم وأزواجهم في ظلال على الأرائك متكئون لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون سلام قولا من رب رحيم وامتازوا اليوم أيها المجرمون ألم أعهد إليكم يا بني آدم ألا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين وأن اعبدوني هذا صراط مستقيم ولقد أضل منكم جبلا كثيرا أفلم تكونوا تعقلون هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون اصلوها اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون ولو نشاء لطمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط فأنى يبصرون ولو نشاء لمسخناهم على مكانتهم فما استطاعوا مضيا ولا يرجعون ومن نعمره ننكسه في الخلق أفلا يعقلون وما علمناه الشعر وما ينبغي له إن هو إلا ذكر وقرآن مبين لينذر من كان حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين أولم يروا أنا خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون وذللناها لهم فمنها ركوبهم ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب وفلا يشكرون واتخذوا من دون الله آلهة لعلهم ينصرون لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند محضرون فلا يحزنك قولهم إنا نعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون أولم يرى الإنسان أنا خلقناه من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي الخلق قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم قل يحييها الذي أنشأها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم الذي جعل لكم من الشجر الأخضر نارا فإذا أنتم منه توقدون أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون صدق الله العلي العظيم.
Can you please recite Surah Fatiha for Maher Unisa Begum, Ghaznfar Ali Khan, Khurshid Mirza, Badr Unisa Begum, Mir Naqi Ali, Sayyida Sugra Begum, Mir Askar Ali, Mir Qurban Ali Khan, Mirza Muhammad Qasim Moin Begum, Qamar Unisa Begum, Hajra Begum, and Shabra Ali Khan. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Just a few announcements before we call our speaker tonight. We will be having programs from today on until Sunday, starting at 7 o'clock with Maghrib Namaz, followed by Ziyat Ashura, Isha, Dabruk, dinner, and then our 4 parallel programs. Alhamdulillah, we are blessed to have Sheikh Jafar Mahibullah here with us. He did Islamic Seminary of Qom from 2013 to 2018 in Dars Kharij, the jurisprudence and the principles of jurisprudence. He attended the University of Texas at Austin in 2007 to 2011. And he's currently located in Egypt. In Austin, Texas. So please let me invite him with the loud salawat.
صلى على محمد وآل محمد. Again, for the well-being of our community, another salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And for the hastened reappearance of Imam Zaman, another salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين. الحمد لله الذي جعل الحمد مفتاحا لذكره وسببا للمزيد من فضله ودليلا على آلائه وعظمته. ثم الصلاة والسلام على خير خلقه سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وآل محمد وآل محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين، لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين، أرواحنا له فدا. أما بعد، فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فوجد عبدا من عبادنا آتيناه رحمة من عندنا وعلمناه من لدنا علما. صدق الله علي العظيم. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعلى محمد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. First and foremost, I give my condolences to all of you on the occasion which we have come to commemorate, and that is Lady Zainab Salamullah alayha, and her passing, Rafat, again based on perhaps one of the riwayat, one of the possibilities. As we reflect on Lady Zainab, and inshallah, tonight and tomorrow night we will discuss Lady Zainab, salamullah alayha, and particularly her role as a Muslim woman. And what I wanted to do is I want to connect this talk with the talks that I began since the beginning of Muharram. And inshallah, I know that many of you perhaps weren't in Austin, Texas when I gave those, but if you want to go back, these lectures are recorded on our website, the IABA of Austin. In those lectures, I began to speak about the status and role of women, because this is something very important for us to understand and to know about, and it's particularly for our youth, with different ideologies that have come forth, that oftentimes we are challenged in the West with those concepts of feminism. So what is the position of Islam with regards to women? What is their status? And what is their role? This is what we spoke about since the beginning of Muharram, and particularly tied it in with the women that were in the lives of Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam, such as Fidda, such as al-Banin, Salma, Zainab salamullah alayha. She is one of them. Also some of the women that perhaps many individuals, they were not aware of. So, for example, Habiba al-Walabiya, who was also one of the narrators from Imam Hussein. Likewise, some of the women who were in Basra as well, who actually, they were very key to the uprising of Imam Hussein alayhi wasallam, encouraging others to go and men to go and to join Imam Hussein alayhi wasallam. So we see that in those lectures, and I'm not going to go back and reiterate everything because we do not have time. It's best just to go and to review those lectures. But one of the things that we stated is that the idea of women is something that was very important in the message and the risala of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that role and status of women, it was important. And right away we can understand the importance. Again, the Quran in itself, it indicates on this. وَإِذَا الْمَوْءُودَةُ سُئِلَتْ بِأَيِّ ذَنْبٍ قُتِلَتْ. That on the day of judgment, the baby, the daughters, the baby girls, they will ask for what sin were they buried and they were killed. So the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he came and he was changing this culture that the Arabs had at that time, which really it held women in a very low status. So this is very important to understand. If we want to understand the complete risala of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then we must understand this point. That again, the Prophet came and one of his mission was to elevate the status of women. And if we compare that understanding that we see in the life of Rasulullah, in this Rasalat of Rasulullah, in the message that the Ahlul Bayt, that the A'imma alayhim wasallam, they carried afterwards, then we will see that really this idea and concept of feminism in the West, it has nothing on the status in which the Islam has elevated women. But of course, unfortunately, sometimes we are not aware of these things, and many haven't studied these things. But in our lectures during Muharram, again, we pulled these things out to explain that elevation of status also comes in when we see how the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he interacted with his daughter Fatima Zahra. How the Ahlul Bayt alayhim wasallam, they interacted with their mother, Fatima Zahra salamullah alayha. That she was someone that when we read the status of Fatima Zahra, when we look at how the Prophet interacted with Fatima, that even in the words of the Prophet, he says that between Amir al-Mu'mineen and Fatima Zahra is like there's no difference in their knowledge. There's no difference in their status. So at the same level that we hold Amir al-Mu'mineen in that high status, then Fatima Zahra salamullah alayha, she also has that status. And whenever, and this is important that we should know, because it will tie into what we are going to speak about this evening about Zainab salamullah alayha, is that in the Quran, when it addresses the mu'mineen, women are included in that. When it addresses insan, women are included in that. It is not that they are excluded. Of course, unfortunately, sometimes some individuals may have a skewed vision or understanding of the Quran. Says, oh, well, this doesn't speak about women or doesn't include women. No. It includes the women. So one of those things that, again, the Prophet ﷺ, the Quran, and the efforts of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salatu wasalam was to, again, change this perception or negative perception that some individuals had with regards to women, to say that, no, they are insan. And not only are they insan, they are individuals like Fatima Zahra salamullah alayha. They are individuals like Zainab salamullah alayha, who are role models for humanity. Not just women, but men as well. Zainab salamullah alayha, her nickname, or one of her nicknames, is Aqila. And it's important to understand this title that Zainab salamullah alayha, she had Aqila, comes from the root of aql. That one who has understanding, and not simple understanding, but deep understanding. In fact, Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salatu wasalam, he would say that she is Aqila, or she is alima, la yu'allam. That she was a scholar in her own right, that no one taught her. This doesn't mean that, again, she didn't receive education from her mother or from her father. No, yes. But this was to emphasize the intellect of Fatima Zahra salamullah alayha. That she was someone who, again, if you wanted to understand and perceive that what would an intelligent person look like, you would look to Zainab salamullah alayha. And inshallah, we'll give an example of this, because unfortunately, I think sometimes when we look at the life of Zainab salamullah alayha, and particularly her khutbah that she stated or she read in the court of Yazid, again, sometimes we may not understand the depth of what Zainab salamullah alayha is stating. But this Aqila, the scholar who is without a teacher, was even recognized in one of the Western books about feminism. It's called The Book of Feminism by DK Publishers. And there they mention, this is a recent publication. Finally they say that, oh yes, within Islam, they mention the name of Fatima Zahra salamullah alayha and Zainab alayhim, saying that these are two women who are examples of intellectual women. But as we try to understand this, it's important that we understand, first and foremost, again, that foundation which we established. And that foundation we established in our lectures in Muharram, we went forth based on this idea or this concept that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, He lays principles for us to understand in the Meccan verses. And then in the Medini verses, He shows us practical aspects of what He's spoken about in the Meccan verses. To give one example, in the Meccan verse, as we read, or as you stated in the beginning, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says that those young children, وَإِذَا الْمَوْءُودَةُ سُئِلَتْ بِأَيِّ ذَنْبٍ قُتِلَتْ. Those female babies, they will ask, for what sin have they been buried alive? What was their crime? And this is to show that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is waking up the intellect, because these are Meccan verses. This is before the Sharia came. This is before, again, the practical aspects of Islam were put forth. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He puts that forth in the Meccan verses. And then in a Medinan verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He states, again, He talks about humanity and the value of humanity. There He's just planting the idea, the concept, that why are these baby girls being killed? So think about the value of a person or this young baby. And what is that value? Especially for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the Medini verses, one of the Medini verses, what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say? He says, Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. He says, the best among you, it's not their gender, that a woman is better than a man is better than a woman. No. The criterion for which one perceives greatness is the one who is most conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is where we have our greatness. So likewise, when we come to this idea, or we're using Zainab salamullah alayha as an example of a woman who has understanding, a woman who is intellectual, and this comes to address, or at least as I'm posing it, to address one of those issues within feminism. And that has to do with feminist epistemology, or a feminist understanding of things. So the feminists, they say that, well, you know what? The gender of a person, it actually reflects on how they think. You have to factor in gender with regards to how a person thinks. So, for example, a man will think different from a woman. A man will see certain things, or he will understand certain things and perceive certain things. A woman will perceive certain things and address it or think a certain way about that. And the problem that they're trying to address, the main issue, is what has been stated, or what unfortunately sometimes people, they rationalize. They say, well, you know what? This is because men are rational and women are emotional. Unfortunately, even among Muslims, sometimes you ask them that, oh, well, why is, for example, this law there? Or why are things done this way? You say, oh, well, because men are rational and women are emotional. And I'll give you one example that often gets brought up. So, well, why is divorce in the hands of a man? Man has a right to divorce, and the woman, she doesn't have the right to divorce. So, well, because women, they're emotional. They'll want to divorce easily. And the man, he's rational. So this is why, although when we look at Islam, this is not what the Quran says. This is not what the Prophet has said. This is not what the Ahlul Bayt alayhim afdal. They never said, oh, well, the divorce is in the right of the man because men are rational and women are emotional. Well, we came up with this. So this is one of the problems that the feminists say, oh, well, you see, this is what people think. So therefore, they come up with this idea or this feminist philosophy or epistemology that, no, women are equally intelligent than men. So what does Islam have to say about this? How do we understand this from an Islamic perspective, especially when we have an example like Zainab salamullah alayha, that she is aqila. And this is what the Ahlul Bayt are saying. They say, call her aqila. Aqila to Zainab. the one who is intellectual, a female who is rational. And so it goes against that stereotype that, oh, well, women are emotional, men are rational. In one of the Meccan verses, as I said, this lays the principles for understanding Islam or understanding the role of women in Islam. The verse that I recited in the beginning, verse 65 of Surah Al-Kahf, which is a Meccan verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He places this idea or concept for us about knowledge in general. That what is knowledge? And what is, again, the foundation of knowledge? That knowledge which is, again, superior to all other knowledge because it is what? Divine knowledge. Knowledge from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He narrates for us the story. This is a famous story that we know. He says, فَوَجَدَ عَبْدًا مِنْ عِبَادِنَا آتَيْنَاهُ رَحْمَةً مِنْ عِنْدِنَا وَعَلَّمْنَاهُ مِنْ لَدُنَّا عِلْمًا. Surah Al-Kahf, chapter 18, verse 65. He says that they found, or they came across, meaning Musa and Yusha ibn Nun, says they came across a servant from among our servants who we have given rahmah, we've given them mercy, him mercy, this servant of ours. And we also taught this servant of ours knowledge. Min ladunna ilma. So there are two qualities that this servant, and again this one that we know is Khidr, there's two qualities that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says we've given him. Rahmah and ilm. And it's important but oftentimes overlooked. We read that story, we contemplate that story, so, oh, well, yeah, Khidr, he had ilm al-ghayb. He had a special connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is why Khidr, he told Musa, he was like, well, you know what? You can come with me on this journey, but don't ask any questions. You won't have patience to understand what I'm doing. And so what happens? Again, Khidr, they go, then Khidr, he pokes a hole in the boat, and Musa is like, oh, hey, what are you doing? This is somebody's property. They go to another place, and then Khidr, he punches this young man, and he dies, and Khidr's like, and Prophet Musa is like, hey, what are you doing? What did this person do? They didn't do anything. You're taking their life. Then they go on, and they try to, get some food from a village, and the people, they say, oh, we're not going to give you anything. So Khidr says, this wall has fallen down. He says, he builds the wall back up, and Hazrat Musa was like, oh, well, now we can get an ujr, we can get paid. And then from that, we can buy stuff. But Khidr says, no. He says, if you want me to tell you why we did these things. You put the hole in the boat so that, again, the tide wouldn't take the boat. He took the life of this young person so that this young person would not misguide his parents, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will replace him with another child. And actually, according to the Rawat, the child was a woman. It was a girl that was replaced. And this girl gave birth to someone who was, again, a prophet. And then Khidr, they built this wall in order to protect the wealth, the inheritance of two young boys, two orphans. And we look at this, and quite often we interpret this as, well, yes, all of these things based on the Sharia. Hazrat Musa, he had it right, because again, he's Sahib al-Sharia. He's one he's a Ulul Azm. He's one of the prophets who came with a law. And based on legal understanding, yes, you're not supposed to destroy the property of another person. You're not supposed to take the life of an innocent person. And if you do labor for someone, you have a right to get paid. But because Khidr, again, he is, as we know, according to some, yes, he was a prophet, or if he was not a prophet, he had a special relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Hazrat Musa, he knew that. Abdan min ibadina. But what was that special relationship? that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had given Khidr, what we can say, ilmul kamil wa aqlul kamil, a complete understanding, a whole understanding. But that understanding came with what? With rahmah, mercy, and knowledge. It was not just pure knowledge. And rahmah, in some sense you could say, it goes back to an emotion. That emotion of, again, love, happiness. Because you cannot have compassion or mercy for someone if you don't have love in your heart. You have compassion and mercy for someone, or for the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you have love in your heart. Love for Allah and love for the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the issue that feminists is trying to say, well, and some people think this, oh, well, women are emotional, men are rational. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's showing us that no, that if one wants to have full and complete knowledge, he has to have both. You cannot have, again, this aql kamil with pure rationality and no emotion. Or complete emotion, someone is completely emotional but no intellect. That which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala He gave to Khidr was rahmah and ilm. Just as is emphasized also in Surah Al-Ghafir, which is again a Meccan verse, where in verse 7, in this verse, it states that when one of the servants, those who are pious, those who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed the mu'mineen, they say, رَبَّنَا وَسَّعْتَ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ رَحْمَةً وَعِلْمًا. Says, oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you've encompassed everything with your rahmah, your mercy, and your knowledge. So a person must have, again, that rahmah and ilm. Must have emotion, must be connected to emotions, but also must have intellect. That these two things are not, again, something is separate, because on one hand, yes, the idea or the concept that, well, men are rational and women are emotional, that's a mistake. And likewise, again, the counter of that, and this is just very general, the counter of that to say that, or a feminist perspective, no, women are also rational too. They can be divorced from emotion. No. As human beings, and if we want to connect to that divine knowledge, again, we have to have both. We have to have both wings of emotion, rahmah, and ilm, and knowledge, and rationality. Salawat. So this also brings you to address one other issue that quite often, again, Muslims, we get blasted sometimes for this, and especially those who are following the Ahlul Bayt, and it becomes a difficult aspect. You say, well, if this is not the case, that, oh, well, men are rational and women are emotional, why does Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam in Nahj al-Balagha? And even this year I heard some people, they were speaking about this, and it becomes a point of difficulty, sometimes tension of how to understand this. Why does Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam say, An-Nisa nawaqisul uql? That women are defective in their reasoning. And this comes up quite often. So, well, it's a Nahj al-Balagha. How do we address this? How do we understand this? First and foremost, I would say that what Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam is speaking about is often taken out of context. Nor are we looking at the full picture of what not only Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam is stating, but also what the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam in various aspects and in various advice they have stated. First and foremost, that statement by Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam is in a particular context. And Imam Ali, he's being very respectful to what is happening. It was stated after the Battle of Jamal, after the Battle of Camel, that again, we know by Quran and by the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that had Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala been obeyed, had the Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala been obeyed, then that battle would have never taken place. The person who led that battle would have never led that battle. There was an order by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to stay in your home. There was an order by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But here is the thing. Very interesting though. We hone in on this statement of Imam Ali. Oh, he said, An-Nisa, that women are naqisul aql. But then we don't read Sermon 233 of Nahj al-Balagha, where Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam, he states, when someone asks him about the difference between people, ikhtilafun nas, the difference between mankind. I'm just going to play devil's advocate just for a moment. So if a person thinks, well, a nas, man, if we're taking a very kind of chauvinistic look, that, yeah, then it only means men, doesn't include women. That if someone's looking at this in a very wrong way, so, well, the difference between men, a nas, has nothing to do with men. So then Imam Ali, he begins to talk about the difference between men, if we take it, if we interpret it in that way or translate it in that way. And he says, إِنَّمَا فَرَّقَ بَيْنُهُمْ مَبَادِئُ طِينِهِمْ, that in their teenihim, and I'm not going to go into that because it will take some time to really explain it. What is Imam Ali talking about? The makeup, the physiological makeup of a person, teenatihim, the metaphysical makeup of a person. Again, it's a very deep concept, but I'm not going to talk about that. But anyway, he says people, they differ based on, again, their makeup, whether it's physiological, spiritual, whether it is metaphysical, they differ. Then he says, then you will see that some, فَتَامُ الرُّوَى نَاقِسُ الْعَقْلِ. So if he's talking about men, then he's saying that they're what? That you'll find some who, yeah, they look handsome. He says, but they're نَاقِسُ الْعَقْلِ. We center out this idea or concept of Imam Ali saying that women are نَاقِسُ الْعَقْلِ, but we forget about this. And no one points to this. That Imam Ali, he says, Anas. You have people, or men only, if we're translating Anas only to be men. But if we translate Nas to include humanity, then he says, yes, some human beings, men and women, not just women, are what? Naqisul aql. Their reasoning and intellect is defective or falls short. But then we need to ask that, falls short of what? Where does the intellect fall short? Where does the rationale fall short? Imam Jawad alayhi salatu wasalam, he Sallallahu ala Muhammad. Imam Jawad alayhi salatu wasalam, he narrates a hadith, and this hadith comes from a source where, again, a number of our Imams alayhi salatu wasalam, they narrate something, they say, min kitab Ali, from the book of Ali. Apparently some traditions that they have from Amir al-Mu'mineen. So Imam Jawad, he says that from this book, Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam, he says, Inna ibn Adama ashbahu shay'in bil mi'yar. He says, mankind, the children of Adam, again, meaning men and women, that they're the closest thing to a scale. He says, imma rajihun bil ilm. He says that either they are weighed down by knowledge. In other words, again, they have a firm position because they understand that thing. They understand their position. He says, marratan bil aql. He says, and that firm position will be based either on aql, their intellect, based on knowledge. He says, أو ناقص بالجهل. Or what they're being weighed down by, or that position has been taken up by what? By jahl. Not understanding something. And they base their position on misinformation. They base their position on what? Not on knowledge. And what does Imam Ali call it? He says, naqis. In other words, naqisul aql. Let me give you an example. Because every action, again, we all know, as the Prophet, he says what? إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالِ بِالنِّيَّةِ, intentions. And quite often it doesn't mean that a person is sitting there, oh, well, I'm intending to do this. But whenever we do something, to some extent, and when we think, at times it's very fast. We rationalize our actions. Even the person who disobeys Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they rationalize their actions. They see that, oh, well, if I do this, there's some sort of pleasure in it. They're getting, oh, well, it's wrong, but they're getting some sort of pleasure out of it. And they rationalize, well, okay, it's short. Or, oh, well, if I do this, then I'll make tawbah afterwards. Again, this is if they are mu'min. But they're rationalizing it. They're thinking about it. And that intellectual process that one makes, and that choice to disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is what the Ahlul Bayt is saying is naqisul aql. That person who rationalizes disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that their intellect and their rationale is defective. This is naqisul aql. Not simply a person, oh, well, women are emotional, so their intellect is not as much. No, that's a misunderstanding. That anyone, male or female, doesn't make a difference. If they are rationalizing their disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, oh, well, I'm going to do this, and there's some sort of pleasure in it, I will, fill my heart with content. Oh, well, I know it's wrong, but I'll make tawbah. This is defective reasoning. This is naqisul aql. And this is why also within, to show you that this is the case, within the du'as of Ahlul Bayt alayhim afsalatu wassalam, one of the du'as that is recommended to recite on the 11th of Ramadan. Again, we know we have du'as for each day of Ramadan. On the 11th of Ramadan, in that du'a, this is what's recommended to recite. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, أصلح لي نفسي القاسية. That, oh Allah, rectify and correct my hardened soul, my hardened and rigid soul. وقلبي الفاسدة. And, oh Allah, correct for me my putrid heart, my corrupt heart. وعقلي الناقص. That, oh Allah, rectify and correct for me my defective reasoning and intellect. And this is not a dua that women should recite. This is a dua that everyone recites. Meaning that anyone and everyone, male and female, that if you are rationalizing disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then that individual, male or female, is naqisul aql. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So in short, an individual, if they want to have the opposite of naqisul aql, defective reasoning and rationale, but if a person wants to have kamalul aql, complete understanding, complete rationality, that person needs to have two things. Needs to have some emotion, some love, rahmah, and needs to have knowledge, ilm. Not just all emotion, no knowledge or rationality. Not just all aql, rationality, and no emotion, no. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave khidr, rahmah, wa ilm. As we say in Surah Al-Ghafir, the mu'min says that رَبَّنَا وَسَعْتَ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ رَحْمَةً وَعِلْمًا, that, oh Allah, that you've encompassed everything with your mercy and your knowledge. He sent the Prophet as what? رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. In a time of what? In time of Jahiliyyah. So if that was a time of ignorance, and the Prophet, he is bringing the people out of ignorance into knowledge and understanding, how does he do this? Except for through mercy, rahmah. The Prophet, he had knowledge as well. The Prophet, he was the one that even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him that Allah gives him this quality, that he sent him rahmatan lil alameen, but he also tells his Prophet, he says what? قُلْ رَبِّي زِدْنِي ilma, that, oh Allah, increase me in my knowledge. And so we see this example in Zainab salamullah alayha. Inshallah, we're not going to take too much longer. We see this quality in Zainab. One place we see this, and this is in the khutbah of Zainab salamullah alayha. We're not going to go through that whole khutbah, but I just want to point out the verses she uses in that khutbah. Because subhanallah, again, the verses she uses is on point. And quite often, if you want to understand the depth of what someone is saying, especially the Ahlul Bayt, Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib, again, in Nahj Balagha, yes, they say something, but even behind their words or beneath their words, there is a greater understanding. And this is something Imam Sadiq alayhi hafidh he says that as the Quran, it has zahir wal batin, it has an apparent meaning, and it has a deeper inner meaning, to 7 layers. He says, وَكَذَلِكَ كَلَامُنَا أَهْلُ الْبَيْتِ. He says, in the same manner, our statements, the Ahlul Bayt. And Zainab salamullah alayha, she is one of those as well. When she is in the court of Yazid, again, just very quickly, that you're going to understand, and so that she gives the summary of this entire movement of Karbala. She uses 2 verses. One verse is verse 178 of Ali Imran, and she uses it in this order. She gives that. She says, وَلَا تَحْسَبَنَّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَنَّمَا نُمْلِي لَهُمْ خَيْرٌ لِأَنفُسِهِمْ إِنَّمَا نُمْلِي لَهُمْ لِيَزْدَادُوا إِثْمًا وَلَهُمْ عَذَابٌ مُهِينٌ. She says, and she's speaking to Yazid, she says that those who disbelieve, those who reject Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's favor, الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا, they should not consider the moment that we have given them, the fursa that we have given them, as something that is good for them. But rather it is given to them that they will increase their disobedience towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and in return they will have a severe punishment. This is, again, the rationale that you're using. This is even now, sometimes we may be in difficult situations. Oh, well, why are all these tyrants around? Isn't Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not going to take them out? He says, no, look. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, He says, He's given those tyrants, we'll spare you for now. But it's not that we are sparing you because you're good people or you're doing this. No, you're going to increase your disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and your punishment will increase. Then she uses verse 169 of Surah Ali Imran, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَا تَحْسَبَنَّ الَّذِينَ قُتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ أَمْوَاتًا بَلْ أَحْيَاءٌ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ يُرْزَقُونَ. And don't think that those individuals who have been martyred in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that they are dead. No, they are living. They're with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and their rizq and their sustenance is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Again, she's speaking about this whole event of Karbala, what happened in Ashura. She summed it up in 2 verses. Again, shows her understanding of the Quran. That when we see that someone like Fidda salamullah alayha, that after the Shahadat of Fatima Zahra, she spoke only with the Quran. Again, this is another example of someone who is thoroughly has saytara, as they say, that she has mastery of the Quran, that she can put the whole event of Karbala in these two verses. And this is why she says, with regards to the position, again, when we look at that position of the one who is righteous versus the tyrant, this is why she says that, what? مَا رَأَيْتُ إِلَّا جَمِيلًا. That what happened to her? I saw only beauty. Why? Because she understands the maqam and the status of those individuals who have sacrificed their lives. But then she uses another verse, and this is the last example of what I would give. Verse 10 of Surah Ar-Rum, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, ثُمَّ كَانَ عَاقِبَةَ الَّذِينَ أَسَاءُوا السُّوءَ أَنْ كَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِ اللَّهِ وَكَانُوا بِهَا يَسْتَهْزِئُونَ. It says, then the end of those individuals who establish evil is evil. Or those who do evil, their end is also wicked and evil. Again, what they reap, or what they will reap what they sow. Because they have belied the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَكَانُوا بِهَا يَسْتَهْزِئُونَ. And they were belittling the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And although there's no time to go into the interpretation of this verse, but subhanAllah, that if we did the interpretation of this verse, again, there are more than 5 or 6 interpretations of this verse, or even ways that this verse can be read, and they will all be correct. But in itself, that Zainab salamullah alayha, that she will use it in that moment, again, shows the depth of her knowledge of the Quran. Zainab is a model for mankind, of humanity. Aqila. One of those individuals, like her mother, which was an example for humanity, for mankind, had both rahmah and ilm. Yes, she had emotion, but also knowledge. And because of that, this is why, again, till today, the remembrance of Karbala is still established. If it only had these, oh, well, we're just only rationalizing this, then someone would even, they will put it aside. But if it was also only emotion, again, it would not have this longevity. But we see in the example of Zainab salamullah alayha, as she approached the event of Karbala and the aftermath of Karbala, it was both with her emotion, with love for Imam Hussein, love for the Shuhada of Karbala, but also with her intellect, as we see her in the court of Yazid, as we see her in Kufa. It is with this that Zainab al-Masa'ib, the mother of mourning, she endured the pains of Karbala. She endured the humiliation of being taken from Kufa to Sham. She endured the pain of returning back to Karbala on the Arba'in. But after that journey to Karbala, the morning on the 40th, on the Arba'in in Karbala, the Ahlul Bayt, they were to return back to Medina, the city which Zainab salamullah alayha, she will be exiled from because of her constant remembrance of Imam Hussein. That according to some, that again, that her telling of the story of Imam Hussein again sparked the uprising against Yazid. But I want to take you to a moment right before that to look at the rationale of Zainab and the love, the rahmah of Zainab. that as the caravan turned towards Medina, that they were going towards Medina, Zainab Salamullah alayha, she began to say these words, مدينة جدنا لا تقبلينا. Our city of our grandfather, Medinatul Mustafa, Madinatu Rasulullah. How will you welcome us? Madinatu Jaddina la taqbalina. فبالحسرات والأحزان جينا. That, O Medina, that we are returning to you. O Rasulullah, we are returning to your city. But how are we returning? We're returning with pain and sorrow. We're returning mourning. خرجنا بالأهلين جميعا. That, O Medina, when we left from you, we left with our family. رجعنا لا رجالا ولا بنينا. That, O Medina, as we return to Medina, we return and there are no men and there are no children with us. That they were returning without their sons, they were returning without their menfolks, that they were returning, that Zainab Salamullah alayha, she is showing her love for the Ahlul Bayt. She is showing her love for her men, for her sons. That when they left from Medina, and Imam Hussein was with them. They left from Medina, and Akbar was with them. They left from Medina, and Ali Asghar was with them. They left from Medina, and Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas was with them. But now they were returning to Medina. There's no Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. There's no Hussein. There's no Ali Akbar. There's no Ali Asghar. They said that as they were returning to Medina, there was one lady who came out to see that this caravan. Who was this woman? This is al-Banin. And al-Banin, she had asked, said, what about my son? What about Hussein? What has happened to Hussein? One of the persons, Bishr, he came, he says, who are you? She says, al-Banin. Then he said to al-Banin, أعظم الله عزاك يا البنين بولدك الجعفر. That al-Banin, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He exalt your mourning for your son al-Ja'far. She says, I am not asking you about my son Ja'far. Tell me about my son. She called Imam Hussein her son. أخبرني عن ولدي الحسين. And then Bishr, he says that أعظم الله عزاك يا البنين بولدك العثمان. That, oh al-Banin, may Allah give you patience and He gives you sabr for the martyrdom of your son Uthman. She says, I'm not asking you about my son Uthman. Tell me about my son Hussein. He said, أعظم الله عزاك بولدك العباس. She says, Bishr told him, he says, oh, al-Banin, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you patience on the martyrdom of your son Abbas. She says, I am not asking about Abbas. She's not even asking about Abu al-Fadl Abbas, whose hands were severed in Karbala. She says, tell me about my son Hussein. Then Bishr, he says, أعظم الله عزاك بولدك الحسين. She says, oh, may Allah give you patience. Hussein has been martyred in Karbala. They said, al-Banin. She began to cry profusely and she fainted before Bishr. ألا لعنة الله على الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. Martin Hussein.
Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. When Fatima came to Karbala, Zainab said, do not look ya Zahra. When Fatima came to Karbala, Zainab said, do not look ya Zahra. Go back, oh mother, they've killed my brother. Zainab said, do not look ya Zahra. When Fatima came to Karbala, Zainab said, do not look ya Zahra. When Fatima came to Karbala, Zainab said, do not look ya Zahra. Go back, oh mother, they've killed my brother. Zainab said, do not look ya Zahra. When the night fell on that desert camping, a lonely voice was heard in moaning. Then she looked and saw someone approaching, one who would join her in her grieving. She had come to see her progeny and what had become of their destiny. But she could not let her two go closer. She did not want her to really see. I do not want you to go further. You will only see pain and horror. I do not want you to go further.